The Doctor Is In is a co-production of Ave Maria Radio and EWTN Radio and carried across the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
I need you to knock some sense into me. I'm sure you can.
Yeah, I don't know.
I enjoy listening to you. I don't always agree with everything.
All right, enough of this persiflage.
So, you want my question?
I'm certainly not going to get myself in trouble by telling you what to do.
That makes great sense. Gosh, that's good.
Did I overwhelm you with words and wisdom?
I've got 7 kids. I feel like I could call you every day.
What? Wait, you're telling me I'm wrong? Disconnect.
Yes, I am, Dr. Ray.
You just need to tune in to Dr. Ray, honey. He's got all the answers.
Am I right or am I right?
Probably.
Now, from the studios of Living Bread Radio Network in Canton, Ohio, the hometown of Mother Angelica, here's Dr. Ray.
An elite member of Catholic Media's SWAT team, stopping whining and tantrums, dispensing Dacazin. Very potent drug, went off patent. It is now tricyclinol, but it's an antidote. Antidote is the airborne cure for parentis maximus wimpus, chronic or acute type, Bratus majoris. 1 hour. You can get it through your ears, or you can check the website out and you can read it, as some of our stuff goes there. Nice to have you here on this Look Back Friday. Previous questions edited at the capable hands of Andrew Kruchek, producer man. And then I, after the question is read in its abbreviated form, the abbreviation is usually taking me out of there, I get to speak more on some topic within the question that needed addressed, or could be embellished, or was a phrase or word used by the caller that could take some explanation. So there are a myriad of reasons why a call makes it to Look Back Friday, and typically some of these are from a couple of months back. So I have to listen to the call on the program to realize, now, why did I put that aside as a look-back call? And then it hits me usually at some point in the call. Oh, yeah, that's right. I wanted to comment on that, but I realized at the time I couldn't for various reasons. So we shall do that. Obviously, as a psychologist, I do therapy. Part of therapy is understanding the individual, the motives, the habits, the thinking, what it is that moves this person. So for 2 or 3 or 4 sessions, usually of roughly an hour apiece, even though the standard therapeutic hour is 45 minutes, I don't do that. I go for an hour, maybe more with some folks. And try to understand their motives. What is it that is nudging them, pushing them, drawing them, dragging them in one direction or another? Just when I think I have a decent understanding of what makes them tick. In session number 5, they'll say something or they will reveal something that will pretty much turn my understanding on its head. Or at the very least, show that my understanding was quite incomplete. Now, for a living, I try to understand people. However, after several sessions, my understanding can still be quite incomplete or even inaccurate. It's my point. My point is this. Every day, especially with people who irk us, bother us, rub us the wrong way, we find difficult, on the spot, we read their motives. It's instinctive. We speculate on why they did what they did, especially to us. If it concerns us, if it affects us, we're going to read into their conduct motives. Some time back, when the kids were little, my wife told me she's gone out for the night. She had to do some things, and she'd be gone for 2-3 hours. And she said that she asked her mom to come over. And I said, well, honey, I can be with the kids. I can watch them. I mean, how many of them are there? Do they need fed? When do they need fed? Just give me the names, and I'll try to make this work. And I'm thinking to myself, now why would she ask her mom? I'm here. I'm capable. My 9-year-old daughter could have watched me, but she wanted too high a price. So my wife's upstairs getting ready to go out. And I go up and I figure, well, I read her motives. The motive was Ray wouldn't be able to care for them competently, so I get my mom to come over to help out. Now, I don't know why I thought that, because that's simply not any message that she's given me over the years, especially when she allows me to come in the house. So I went upstairs, and I was thinking to myself, okay, if her motive is to give me some help because I would be inept, and I think at the time we had 6 kids under 6. Come on, who wouldn't be inept? So I figured, okay, no, I'll be forgiving. I'll overlook this. This is the way to do this, not to get upset. So I broached the subject. I said, honey, why'd you call your mom? And she said, well, I knew you were working on this parenting book, and you had a deadline, and I wanted to give you some time so that you could work on it tonight without having to take care of the family matters. Now, at that point, my demeanor went. I had thought that I had read her motive correctly, and I had duly frustrated and upset myself over reading her motive, which wasn't her motive whatsoever. How often do we do that? Reading motives is a dangerous thing. You can see behavior, you can hear words. Looking inside somebody's head, that is a lot tougher. People who do therapy for a living will tell you sometimes the whole picture doesn't come into focus until after a long amount of therapy time. But yet, every day we read people's motives. And if we read them negatively, we get upset. It's the intent that bothers us sometimes more than the behavior. I use an example in one of my books where a mom was planning a surprise birthday party for the 6-year-old daughter, and she sent out invitations. Well, Grandma, who she and Mom didn't necessarily have the greatest of relationships, but it wasn't overt hostility. Grandma didn't get one. Grandma's immediate interpretation, she doesn't want me there. Her own child's grandmother was not invited. What were other possible explanations? Slow mail? Mom innocently overlooked it? She waited till the last minute to send out all the invitations? Was there any other explanation other than she doesn't want Grandma there, and she deliberately did not send her an invitation? Now, if you take that as the motive, as the explanation, you're going to be real upset. That's kind of a worst-case scenario. She doesn't want me at my own granddaughter's birthday party. Grandma called and said, I didn't get an invitation yet. She goes, you didn't? I mailed those out. Now, Grandma's suspicious. Grandma's thinking, yeah, right you did. I mailed those out a week ago. So Grandma was somewhat mollified, but she still had her suspicions that she was cornered. And now she's trying to duck out of what she did. And of course she said, well, please, you're more than welcome. We want you to come. Please do. And Grandma's thinking, yeah, well, how come I didn't get an invitation? Yeah, now when I called you and I made you explain you invited me. So Grandma was still clinging to her reading of the motive. She goes to the party, still somewhat stewing at the party. The day after, the invitation comes in the mail. And it was postmarked a week prior. So see, Grandma did not accept the mom's explanation as to why Grandma didn't get a formal invitation. She didn't accept it because she was so sure that in reading the daughter's intent, or daughter-in-law, I forget which, that she just didn't want her there, and that was her way of saying, hey, you're not invited. And that was no such thing. She spent several days upset. And she didn't enjoy the birthday party as much as she otherwise would have, because she kept thinking, am I really wanted here? Did I crash it? Did I corner her so that she had to invite me? She misread the motive. We do it all the time. We read people's intent and we get upset. Many, many reasons why people do what they do. Sometimes they just do it because they themselves are thoughtless, or they themselves are scattered, or they themselves are not detail-oriented, whatever it is. It has nothing to do with us. Nothing at all. It would happen to anyone other than us in that circumstance. Always recognize that in reading motives, you could be wrong. Dr. Ray, thanks for joining me.
Don't touch that dial. Dr. Ray will be back.
Hi, I'm Angie. Did you know a billboard can save a baby's life? It's true. You can make a difference this holiday by helping us spread the pro-life message to reach those who are struggling with an unplanned pregnancy. Our billboards and ads feature our 800 hotline for help, which connects people to pro-life centers nationwide that can assist with free medical help, baby supplies, and more. Won't you join us in this season of giving? Please make a gift today. Visit prolifeacrossamerica.org. That's prolifeacrossamerica.org.
In her diary, St. Faustina wrote, "If only I had a spiritual director from the beginning, I would not have wasted so many of God's graces. If even the saints needed spiritual guidance, how much more do we?" The nonprofit Revive app lets you meet virtually with certified spiritual companions, scheduling sessions at your convenience, helping you grow closer to Christ. Your first 2 sessions are free. Download the Revive app today. That's REVIV, and then the number 3.
Hello, Steve Ray here from Footprints of God Pilgrimages. The land of our Lord and Our Lady is calling us. We're heading back to the Holy Land over Christmas break this year. We have the best, most reliable guides and services awaiting us. The holy sites are open, and the local Christians are anxious to see us. Galilee, Jerusalem, Nazareth, Bethlehem. No crowds, no lines. Hope you can join us.
Find the Ave Maria Radio travel tab at avemariaradio.net. Do you own popular index mutual funds or ETFs? If so, you're automatically owned shares of companies that conflict with your moral beliefs. Ave Maria mutual funds are managed to conform to pro-life and pro-family values. Long-term investors can invest in the no-load Ave Maria mutual funds. The experienced professional portfolio managers make decisions based on investment fundamentals and pro-life values. You can learn more about Ave Maria mutual funds today at 866-AVE-MARIA or visit AveMariaFunds.com.
Raising your IQ with every segment. Our goal is to raise it with every sentence. Mine, not yours. on this Look Back Friday. Let's see who we got in the queue. Teresa from Pennsylvania. She's estranged from her brother, but there's been a twist in the family relations.
I've talked to you before about this family estrangement I've had with my brother, and my sisters are in contact with him. Most recently, in January, his son was killed at work. And,
yikes.
Yeah, and I didn't go. They went to the funeral. They didn't tell me they were going. They kept saying, and anyway, big mess. Three of us live in Pennsylvania, but my brother lives in North Carolina. So nobody
told you about the funeral. You didn't even know.
I knew my sister called to tell me he had been killed, right? But then after that, I'm like, well, what's the name of the funeral home? There was nothing in the paper, and they just completely ignored me. And when I called you, you were like, well, you can't control, you gave me really great advice, which I've been following. But now out of clear blue, I get an invitation to my brother's for a baby shower for his son. No one has called me or said anything about it. I've been just sitting on it. But my husband's like, well, you're not going. They just want a gift. And I'm like, but no one said, hey, let's carpool down together. I mean, obviously, all three of us living in Pennsylvania, we would do that. That would make sense. But neither of my sisters have mentioned it. I've called both of them about other things. They didn't bring it up. So I'm like, is this just, should I send a gift? Should I just RSVP no and not go? I mean, there's no hey, we're all going to get together afterwards, because, I mean, you drive the whole way to North Carolina for a 3-hour baby shower, right? There's nothing else with it, just this, those email invites. So
I probably asked this the first time around, Teresa. I don't remember. What is it, as you see it, that you are the odd person out in your family? What is it that not only your brother but your sisters, for the most part, are keeping you quite a distance? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I have a tentative relationship with my sisters. It's kind of cooled off now that our mom has passed. But you hit on the head. I am the most religious one in the family. I'm the one who goes to church, and I know my brother he's left the Catholic Church. He hates the Catholic Church, and I know that's a part of it, because I won't, if he says anything against the church, I defend it, right? So I know that was part of the reason for the big blow-up, 26 years ago. Jeez. And he's been back in their lives for the past 6 years, but I'm like, I didn't do anything wrong, so I'm not apologizing. They're like, you have to apologize. I'm like, tell me what I did wrong, and I will.
Well, what you did wrong is you said blow-up. So if there were a blow-up, that means you got upset too. You got maybe nasty, did you?
I didn't get nasty. I just said, my sisters were like, well, he just doesn't like the Catholic Church. And I'm like, well, okay, he has a right to, but I'm not denying my religion to have a relationship with him. I never even said that to him. I said that to them. I'm like, if he wants
Teresa,
to go on with his life.
Okay, wait. Why do you think you have to deny your religion to have a relationship with him? You just don't talk about
it. Because no, he said no, as long as you guys are practicing Catholics. So my sister said they weren't anymore.
They want you to apologize. Apparently, they think that you were out of line some 26 years ago when you and your brother got into it about the faith. Okay, you can do that. You can say, hey, absolutely, I will call him if he accepts my call. Say, I'm sorry. Whatever I said, however nasty I was, I am sorry. I should not have done that. Now, that doesn't mean you're denying your faith. You're just basically saying my style wasn't very good. You could do that, sure. You're not saying I'm not going to sacrifice my faith for my brother. No, you're not doing that. So the other thing is this too. Think about this. If you're the religious one in the family, then it behooves you to do everything you can to be the easiest one to get along with in the family. So you got an invitation to a baby shower. Now, here's a question. This might raise another issue. Is his son married?
Nope.
Didn't figure.
They're living together.
All right.
And when they stayed at my sister's house, she allowed them to sleep together.
Okay. All right, so the question
I don't
then
allow that in my
becomes, and this is a question of conscience, are you going to go because, in fact, they're not married to celebrate this birth out of wedlock? Now, the problem is, of course, you want to celebrate the baby, the new life.
Absolutely. Right.
I would think if you took a poll of 100 priests, there would probably be a few that say no, you don't go because you're celebrating an immoral situation. Probably most would say, from the perspective of some type of reconciliation in your family, just go. Call your brother, text your brother, say thank you so much for the invitation.
Yeah.
I plan on coming.
I don't have my brother's phone number. I'm not allowed to have it.
Okay, well then, can you tell your sisters? Tell him I'm planning on coming.
Yeah, I can tell them.
Sure.
I guess what's odd is neither one of them called me and say, "Hey, did you get the invitation?"
Well, does that surprise you? Come on, they didn't even call you when his son was killed. Talk about something huge.
Well, they called me, but then they wouldn't give me any information on the funeral.
Exactly.
So I knew about it.
Right. They don't want you to be part of it. Yeah. So that wouldn't shock me that they wouldn't tell you about the shower. But the fact that you got an invitation, and maybe it was at the behest of the son. He may have said, I want Aunt Teresa here. Maybe he doesn't like what people are doing to you. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't have time to check into that further. It was already a longer call. 26 years ago. I do not know how ugly that exchange got. My experience is, in ugly exchanges, it is easy to mitigate, to minimize the exchange. Yeah, I raised my voice when, in fact, there were curse words and screaming. So I don't really know how ugly it got. It may have been the final thing to break the relationship because the rest of the family just doesn't like that she's religious. Could be. There's obviously a whole lot of family dynamics here. The question remains, what would going there do for family relations? It may be, as I said before the call ended, that the grandson said, look, Dad, that's Aunt Teresa. I want her there. So she got an invitation. Now, I'm assuming, I forget the details here, that the invitation was in the brother's name, her brother's name, and not the son's name. So that's interesting in and of itself, that the grandson didn't formally or put his name to the email or his address. Maybe her brother's view is, this is my son, and I'm going to soften in my relationship with my sister all these years because now this is something that has to do with my son. Maybe. If it were me, I would probably go. And I would be pleasant. I would be cordial. I'm not going to sit there and celebrate and shoot off fireworks because the baby was born out of wedlock, although everybody does now. It makes no difference now, pretty much to most of the culture, whether the baby's born to a couple married or not. No, it doesn't. Not at all, especially among young people. So given that, if Aunt Teresa can be there, she may have a chance to at least soften this relationship. His hostility, that is her brother's hostility toward her faith, it's got to be predicated on some other things. Why would he feel so compelled to attack Teresa and her faith? You always got to wonder about that. Why can't he just shrug his shoulders and say, yeah, my sister's a goofball, she believes in all that nonsense? But he can't. He has to be hostile about it. So I don't know what that says. It's not in my office, so I just have to say I don't know.
60 Seconds with Father Mitch Pacwa.
The state has responsibility to orient things, but they can't take over the rights of the family, like in China, to have one child and that's it. It's a disaster over there. How many tens of millions of abortions have gone on? And one of the things that, as a result of that, is because of the preference to have boy children rather than girls, you have, for every 1,000 boys, there are 850 girls. This is a great imbalance. Same thing is going on in northern India. So this is where the government cannot take away the primary and inalienable responsibility of married couples and families. And they cannot employ methods which fail to respect the person and fundamental human rights. Beginning with the right to life, the government cannot force you to kill innocent human beings and still be a humanistic government. It's an evil government.
The people you know and trust are on EWTN.
What are the 3 major sins against the first commandment? The Catholic Catechism lists them as tempting God, sacrilege, and simony. How can we tempt God? By putting his goodness and almighty power to the test, by word or deed, as Satan dared to do when he commanded Jesus throw himself down from the temple. He was trying to force God to act. Jesus rebuked the devil with God's word, "You shall not put the Lord thy God to the test." The sin of sacrilege profanes sacraments and other liturgical actions, as well as persons, things, or places consecrated to God. It is particularly grave when committed against the Eucharistic Jesus. Simony is the sin of buying and selling of spiritual things. It's named after Simon the magician, who attempted to purchase spiritual power from St. Peter. This is Peggy Stanton, and this has been the Order of Malta's Minute with the Catechism.
This is Cy Kellett. Join me for Catholic Answers Live. It's 2 hours dedicated to Catholic apologetics and evangelization. Designed for Catholics and non-Catholics alike, it's your opportunity to hear from and talk with some of the leading apologists and theologians in the church today. You've got questions? We've got Catholic Answers. Catholic Answers Live, weekdays, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Thank you for joining me here on The Doctor Is In. Monday through Friday, 1 o'clock Eastern Time, co-production of the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. All my friends down there and all my friends at Ave Maria Radio Communications in Ann Arbor. My website is drray.com, DRRAY.com. I'm on Instagram. My son takes care of that, as well as Facebook. Diane from Florida had a comment. We had a previous caller, that show, whose son, at least according to the caller, has very poor self-esteem. All right, I'm always nervous about that phrase anyway. But let's see what Diane said about it.
Wanted to add a comment out of personal experience to a lady. You may have already told her this, I don't know, but she called earlier in the week or maybe last week, and she has a 20-some-year-old son who struggles with his life, social life. He doesn't want to go do anything because he has such a terrible low opinion of himself. And I wanted to just say that for her, let him know that nobody cares about him. Everybody's so wrapped up in themselves. Nobody cares about his appearance or anything about him or what he's doing. So forget about it, get over it, and get on with enjoying his life the way he wants to live. And number two, if he has some kind of a physical problem that keeps him from having higher self-esteem, then deal with that in the best way she can and tell him, just help him get over that, whatever it is, and say, look at what other people have to live with, and people with no legs and they can, and no arms, and they live a happy life. You have to, get over it and enjoy your life and stop living in a shell. Nobody cares about you, right?
Well, what you're saying has a lot of truth to it in the sense that most people are preoccupied with their own concerns and their own existence, and they're just not looking at somebody else and scrutinizing them and saying, boy, that kid's an awkward misfit. I think, if I remember the call, Diane, I think it was He didn't have any physical issues. It was more of a self-doubt kind of stuff, that he was simply going to be poor in social contexts. What you say makes total sense. The question is, one, has his mother ever said that kind of stuff to him, and how many times? And two, would he even accept it? I think there's a third option here, and that is, if his social squeamishness, whatever you want to label it, is keeping him from taking anything that he thinks has the potential to not work out, then she's going to have to force it. She's going to have to say, okay, you can't keep living here and drifting here because you're saying I don't have enough confidence to try ABC. She may have to say, well, you're going to have to find out what happens. Now, that may sound kind of tough to some people, but what's happening is he sounds like he was slowly retreating into himself. Did you get that sense?
Yes, and he's got to come out of it someday. So, like you've told people before, I know they have to stand on their own 2 feet, and sometimes it's hard to do, but we have to provide what they absolutely can't live without, and then otherwise, boy, that's hard to do, though.
We've become so psychologically squeamish. What will happen psychologically, emotionally, if we put conditions on someone's conduct? Diane, thank you so much for the call, dear. Poor self-esteem has just become such a shibboleth, a catchphrase for so much that people struggle with socially, relationally, personally. The self-esteem movement really grew out of the 70s. It exploded out of the university halls, came into the general population, as so much of psychology does. It is theorized within the halls of psychology, and then it comes out in its language and in its supposed understanding of the human condition to be embraced by much of the general culture. I don't know the reason that this young man was unwilling to take any kind of social risks. See, our first move in this is to say, well, he has fragile self-esteem, therefore, until we get his self-esteem in better shape, he's not going to do these things. Well, that's not necessarily true. He may have to find out that these things that he finds risky turn out to be either rewarding or at least tolerable, and he can expand his social circle. One of the reasons that people avoid going out, attempting new things, getting into crowds, is the fear of being judged. I'm going to be scrutinized. They're going to notice this about me. And not only are they going to notice it, but they're going to demean me in their minds. They're going to think less of me because of it. And I know they're judging me, because that's what people do. So therefore, I'm not going to put myself in that situation to be judged. And a lot of this is the roots of social anxiety. That people don't want to try new situations. They don't like to be in groups. They don't want to go new places because there are people there they don't know and that they're not comfortable with automatically, and they're worried about being scrutinized and judged. And I suspect that's what's going on with this young man, for whatever the reason. Now, the other thing could be this. It may simply be that there's a certain amount of content. He's living at home, being lazy, just kind of drifting along, getting up when he wants, going to sleep when he wants, playing as much video games as he wants, has a little bit of money, maybe, and I don't remember if he worked or not. I don't recall that. So given that, we don't know the reason, but it's easy for a parent or someone close to say, well, the reason he's not doing this is because his self-esteem is fragile, and therefore I'm nervous about requiring a little more adult-like behavior on his part because I don't know what that would do to his psyche. I've seen so many parents paralyzed by that with a 20, 22, 25, 26, 30, 35, 40-year-old person in their home. It's one thing to say, yeah, they're just not acting grown up. They're not willing to take the steps toward maturity. That's one thing. Most people can do something about that. But if they say, well, I think he would want to, but he's kind of paralyzed by his own poor self-image, and that's what's keeping it. And I'm afraid if I rattle that self-image, I really don't know what psych effects that could have on him. Yeah. The self-esteem movement, I think, has just misguided so many people in so many different directions.
Looking for a more peaceful family by Christmas? Join Dr. Greg and Lisa Popchak for a free live webinar, Have a More Peaceful Family by Christmas. It's Thursday, November 13th from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Discover practical ways to reclaim Advent with purpose, prayer, and joy. Don't let Advent slip by in stress and distraction. Join the Popchaks and turn this season into a sacred success story. Register now at AveMariaRadio.net and make this Advent your most intentional yet.
Christ is the answer with Father John Riccardo.
Maybe we need to ask ourselves, do we really know Jesus? Maybe another way to ask that would be, how familiar are you with the Gospels? When I was living in D.C., I was on the plane taking a late flight home, sitting next to a young girl. She was probably 16, 17. I had my collar on, and we got talking, and she said somehow in the course of the conversation, she acknowledged that she was running away from home and was in the midst of an awful lot of difficulties that were going on. Her story seemed to be remarkably akin to the story of the prodigal son, which we just heard this past Sunday at Mass, huh? And so I started to speak a little bit about that with her. And I said, you sound a little bit like the younger son in the story of the prodigal son. And she looked at me like I was from Mars. And I said, are you not familiar with the story of the prodigal son? And she says, no, never heard it. And I just looked at her and I says, oh my goodness, are you in for a wonderful evening?
Strained or broken relationships are a given in most of our lives. Friends fall away, siblings drift apart, children sever ties with their parents, and despite our best efforts, these painful fissures are difficult to mend. Hi, I'm Dr. Ray. If you want to learn how to communicate better with the difficult people in your life and be a more easygoing, more forgiving person, check out my book, How to Get Along with Almost Everybody. Check it out. And all my other books on the store page at AveMariaRadio.net. That's AveMariaRadio.net. Thank you for joining me here on The Doctor Is In on this Look Back Friday. Previous questions, and then replayed in part, usually in part. And I comment from some aspect of the question or some general principle revealed by the question or anything that's within the question that I would have loved to have chased at the time but couldn't for various reasons. Because there were other callers, because the person was very strongly focused on the matter at hand, and if I went off on a tangent, it would pull away from what they originally requested. So those questions most often make it to the Look Back Friday list. One of the struggles for Christians is to serve others, but particularly when they continue to ask us to serve them. Where do you, and I don't want to say draw the line because it's usually not a line, it's just a big gray area, decide to say, okay, I'm being taken advantage of here, and what I'm doing is not necessarily Christian duty as our Lord talked about it. It is more or less a social demand that this person is making, meet my needs. And they would be capable of helping themselves in this situation, but I am more convenient for them, or I am cheaper for them, or I am more available for them, whatever it might be. So Karen feels obligated to drive her friend somewhere when her friend asks. And most people would say, well, you can't be at the beck and call of driving somebody whenever they ask you to drive them somewhere. Ha-ha. But the twist is that the friend wants to go to Mass.
I'm another one that's carrying around some guilt because we're both old ladies. There's a bunch of us that go to daily Mass, and we say the rosary beforehand. And one of my friends, who doesn't really live close to me, she can't drive anymore, and so she's been, she's got a list of people she calls, I guess, to give her a ride to church, and she lives, in a duplex, on one side of her, and her daughter and her family live, and the other side she lives, and I guess she has a 23-year-old grandson that lives with her, and he's taken over her car now. So anyway, it's gotten to the point where I don't want to go to church. I don't want to go to Mass because she's going to wind up asking me for a ride back to her house. If she sometimes she takes Uber, and that gets expensive. And so I'm like, I feel like I'm not being a good Christian if I don't. And a lot of times after Mass I have plans, to run errands and do stuff, while I'm out, and then, go home and take my nap because I'm 78 and I don't have the energy I used to have. But anyway, so I don't know what to do. I mean, I like going to Mass, but it's like the last time I went yesterday. Well, I went up and I sat with her, but then she was blowing her nose and she was coughing, and I thought, oh my gosh, she's sick, and now I have to deal with being around her, and I excused myself because I had to go to the restroom, and then I thought, well, I'm just going to put on a mask and sit in the back. It was kind of cold anyway, but anyway, so she and then I left early because I didn't want her to ask me for a ride home. And so
you're getting sneaky. It's a good way to handle it, though. Kind of a sneaky. We sit way in the back.
No, I don't like being sneaky. I wish I could just say, I don't mind taking you once in a while, but it's out of my way, and I don't. What would Jesus do? I don't know. Am I being selfish? And I do that with a lot of people. They call and they say, "Can I'm willing to help them out." But sometimes it becomes like they're using me, and then I start building this resentment, and that's not good.
Well, let's help you out here, Karen. Okay, let's help you out. First logistically, and then theologically. Logistically, don't stop going to Mass because this lady's going to corner you and say, "Take me home 22 miles out of your way." Don't do that. Okay? You go to Mass anytime you want to go to Mass. If you want, you tell her, "I can take you home on Wednesdays. That's all I can take you home. The rest of the time, I've got stuff that I'm committed to, things I have to do. I can take you home on Wednesdays." Mm-hmm. Now, if you say to yourself, "Well, I don't know if I even want to do that. I mean, come on, I'm tying myself to Wednesday." You can say, "I'll take you home on Wednesdays if I'm here."
But sometimes when I'm there, I've got things that I need to do. And the thing is that she reciprocate a little bit. I mean, buy me lunch or something, or, I'm willing to take her to the grocery store too.
You're not obliged. You're not obliged to be at her beck and call.
Well, I'm thinking
you can help her out when you can. Help her out when you can.
But what's going on with her? Because her grandson, why doesn't?
Well, of course. That's right. He's got her car. Come on, he's not going to be put out. She's not probably even going to ask him. All right. So that said, let me help you out here. Many people wrestle with this. They have folks who lean on them for all kinds of stuff. And a lot of times it's because of convenience that they want another person's help. It isn't because they need another person's help. It's convenience.
Right.
Okay? So I'm speculating now, but I can't see that our Lord would say you have to be at somebody's beck and call when they want you to be at any time. If they don't have any food or no shelter, yeah, okay, as a Christian, you do what you can to help them. But for somebody to say, well, no, I need you to do this for me, when they potentially have other options. She could take an Uber anytime. I got to believe she can. So she has other options. So what if you told her, and this is why we got to get past the logistics into the spiritual theological. What if you told her, I will take you when I can, but most of the time I can't. So be prepared to have another possibility. I think what's keeping you from saying, I can't take you today, is because you think you're not being a good Christian.
Right.
I got to believe if you talk to a priest who has more credibility than I do, he's going to tell you the same thing. He's going to say, you can't just be there every time she says, hey, clap, clap, snap, snap, take me home. Let's take a break on that, which means if you want to hear how we talk about it further, you'll have to hang around. If not, if you just join us in the last segment, you'll have no idea what we're talking about.
Do you own popular index mutual funds or ETFs? If so, you're automatically own shares of companies that conflict with your moral beliefs. Ave Maria mutual funds are managed to conform to pro-life and pro-family values. Long-term investors can invest in the no-load Ave Maria mutual funds. The experienced professional portfolio managers make decisions based on investment fundamentals and pro-life values. You can learn more about Ave Maria mutual funds today at 866 Ave Maria or visit AveMariaFunds.com.
He was a pope, a saint, and a doctor of the church.
Matthew Bunson and the Doctors of the Church.
Pope St. Gregory I the Great is one of only 4 popes honored as the Great. Among his many achievements was sending missionaries across Northern Europe, especially St. Augustine of Canterbury, who brought Christ to the people of England. In a pun, Pope Gregory called the English people angels. He died in 604.
For more about the Doctors of the Church, visit doctorsofthechurch.com.
Life's uncertainties can arise without warning, and without a clear legal plan, your wishes may go unfulfilled. Through our partnership with mycatholicwill.com/AVE, you can designate guardians for your children and allocate your assets to the individuals and causes you hold dear. Create your will at no cost from the privacy of your home. This Thanksgiving, take time to prioritize your family's peace of mind. mycatholicwill.com/AVE.
This program brought to you in part by Ave Maria, Florida, a big kind of small town where golf carts take you everywhere and there's always something fun around the corner. Discover championship golf, resort-style amenities, and a town center full of shopping and dining. With Ave Maria University and Ave Maria Catholic Church at its heart, it's a community full of connection and charm. More than 25 model homes are available for viewing. More information can be found at AveMaria.com. That's AveMaria.com.
Thank you kindly for joining me here on The Doctor Is In. All right, before the break, Karen called. She's 78 years old. She has a friend who does not drive, but who lives relatively far away, wants to go to daily Mass. And this friend frequently, if not regularly, asks Karen to pick her up and take her to Mass and bring her home. Well, Karen, that's tough. First of all, it's a ways. Second of all, she sometimes has to go places after Mass. She has to run errands. Third, interestingly enough, even though the woman doesn't drive anymore, she's got a son who lives there, who does drive and uses her car. But apparently he's not willing at all to take her to Mass and bring her back, even though he has total access to her car. Now, Karen's struggle is, what's my Christian duty? There's something I call meet my needs. We're a very meet my need culture. We don't lack for food. We don't lack for shelter, generally. We don't lack for the basics of life. As a matter of fact, most of us, even those below, quote-unquote, our poverty line, have an awful lot of stuff that in the history of the world would be excessive. And even right now is excessive towards much of the world. Meet my needs. And that's what's happening here, I think. And Karen felt like, okay, I don't want to not be a Christian. So what she was doing, she's not going to Mass. Why? Well, because if this lady finds out somehow, or if this lady is at Mass, she got a way there, but she doesn't have a way back, and she sees Karen, she's going to say, well, can you take me home? And I had a couple of suggestions for Karen. I'm not sure that any of them were satisfactory to her, but I said, one, you tell her I can bring you on Wednesdays. But sometimes some stuff comes up on a Wednesday, and I'll call you and tell you that I can't pick you up or bring you back. But by and large, count on Wednesdays. She could do that. Okay, that's one. Two, Karen says the lady could take an Uber. Well, okay, we don't know her financial state. We do know that her son is living there. I think it was her son. I don't think it was her grandson. We do know her son was living there. So is he contributing anything to the household? See, we're not obliged as Christians to make up for someone's irresponsibility. And if she's allowing him to take total advantage of her and contribute little to the household, well, does Karen have to account for that? Does she have to make up for that? I don't think so. There's a third thing here, which is if the woman does have money, she can take an Uber. I don't know how far away she lives from the church, and I don't know what it would cost, and she may say, no, I don't have the money to take an Uber every day. Okay, fair enough. But Karen also said that the woman has a list of people that she can call to take her. Well, I would wonder if this list is extensive, why is she having any trouble getting to Mass? I would wonder if also some of the other people are getting tired of the relentless take me, pick me up, take me home, pick me up, take me home. Again, the question always becomes, and this is a judgment call. We do this all the time. We do it at Christmas. We do it at people beside the road with a sign that says no food. We judge. And we have to. We have to make a judgment, which is this a case of need? Or is this something that I would be feeding into irresponsibility? You know, I've heard the argument, it's not your place to judge if it's a case of need. There's someone there who's asking for something, you give it to him. Okay. But do you give it to him if, in fact, this is a very capable person, able to get a job, able to work, able to do something, but they find that if they sit by the road, they can average $27 an hour? And they would prefer that. Is that us doing them good? Dr. A, you can't know. Well, I agree, you can't know. But we're called to make judgments on everything. And I think Karen's judgment regarding her friend and her friend's ability to get to church and all the other options her friend has is a fair thing to do. First thing I would say, again, to reiterate, don't stop going to Mass, because Karen stopped going to Mass. She's ducking the lady. Or she leaves early after communion, goes into the bathroom, and then never comes out. Or sneaks out the back door and gets in her car and takes off. Who knows? I wouldn't do that. I would say, here's how I can help you. I can do this. Now, will the lady take it? Will the lady say thank you? Karen said an interesting thing. Did you hear it? She almost said it in passing toward the end. She said she's never volunteered to even buy me lunch. And I would imagine she's never said, here's some money for gas. Now, I would have chased that further if we had more time in the call, but those are just indications of, I expect you to do this for me because I want you to. Now, if Karen says, I'm going to do it simply because I'll just do it for her as a favor, then that's up to Karen. She can do that. She's fine. But she's saying, no, this is exhausting. No, I have other demands on my time after Mass, and I can't do this as much as she wants. Okay. So now that puts the condition of, here's my terms. Here's my limits. This is what I can do. And she's still doing things. She's not saying, I don't want to have anything to do with you, leave me alone. She's not doing that. She's saying, here, I can help you out. Here's my circumstances. More than fair, I think. But who am I? But I think she'd get the same answer if she polled 10 priests. Pretty close to it. Thank you for joining me here on this Look Back Friday. Doctor is in Monday through Friday. Appreciate the company so very, very much. Thanks, Andrew Kruchek, for all your work there at Ave. And thanks to you for keeping me company. Walk with God. You could do that every day.
For information on Dr. Ray's presentations, books, and CDs, visit drray.com and follow him on Facebook and Instagram. The Doctor is In is a co-production of Ave Maria Radio and EWTN Radio and carried across the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.